Radio. It's 2 o'clock. My name is Gardy. This is Clear Life Combat. I have a guest that is zooming in. I'm going to let him introduce himself right now, and we're going to find out everything that he has going on. Hey, how you doing?
Great, man. Jeremiah Chambers of Jaychay Productions.
Yes, sir. Where are you at right now?
I'm at my studio in Katy.
Okay, so if somebody hasn't had the opportunity to check you out on social media, and I'm sure they will here in a bit, kind of tell them what all you have going on and what you do.
So many things going on. Yeah, I am a photographer, videographer. So, there's not too many projects that that I'm not willing at least to give a shot at. So, all sorts of photography stuff, videography stuff. But as far as, Clear Life Combat, in this conversation, I am the official videographer for Fury Fighting Championship and also Submission Hunter Pro Grappling. So I do a lot of the people that are going to recognize my stuff from this conversation. That's probably where they know me from. So
Yeah, and Fury's blowing up. So all of the video content that they see that comes out of there, that's your work, right?
yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, everything, all the the replays and the box stuff and the highlights, all that stuff I get to put together, which is honestly really cool. That's one of those things. It's like I didn't fall into it, but at the same time, like, man, it's pretty awesome that has come to me. So,
Was there a new one that dropped today? I think I saw Richard Burmaster had shared one out.
man, I have to look. I send a lot of content, so there's a good chance he put out another one today.
Yeah, I think I saw one that popped up. It was on Richard's feed, but I didn't see it on Fury's yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did you get into that? I mean, do you train at all, or is it just something that worked out and you just do good stuff?
Man, so it's funny. Like I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, like less than 1,000 people, cornfields around, kind of middle of nowhere. But I've always loved the UFC. I've always loved MMA. I've loved that stuff. I've not had the opportunity, at least growing up, stuff to train. But I always loved the sport. I always loved sports in general. I'm a huge sports guy. Um, but my love for MMA, all that stuff started really young. I don't really train right now. It is definitely something that I look forward to doing sometime, hopefully in the near future. I've got some plans around that too. But it's also one of those things right now. Like, I mean, I'm 36. My glory days are behind me athletically and all those kinds of things. But it is something that I'm pretty decent at the video stuff. So if I can, help these young guys coming up get their shot and be famous and let the world see what Houston has to offer in the MMA scene, I love doing it. So
The next Submission Hunter is taking place on Sunday, and if I
yeah.
understand correctly, I mean, what you do is you highlight the whole event, but you'll also work with individuals if they want a highlight of their match, which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, man, in this jujitsu is a sport that's just blowing up, and there's so many young people, especially around Houston here, that are so good. I mean, so good. And so, yeah, I'm able to. Yeah, I'm an official videographer for the event, which means I shoot everything mat side, which is a lot of fun. Catch all the great, action, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, then if they want to, send me a DM or whatever and let me know, hey, I'm in match whatever, and I'd love to highlight my match. I do those too. So yeah, they can. If somebody wants that, definitely give me a shout, and I'll make you something cool.
How long have you been working with Fury? And I think it was before like the UFC Fight Pass deal. Did you ever imagine it was going to grow into this point, or did you see that happening?
Yeah, so I've known Rich for about 5 years now. I knew him back in the LFA days when he was hanging out with them, and when he started working with Eric, I think it was probably around like 3.5 years or so that I've been working with them. It was the kind of a thing they'd been trying to get going, of getting good highlights and good video content and all those kinds of things. And the people they were working with just didn't work out. This turnaround wasn't happening quick enough, and some other things. So they're like, hey, you want to try this? He knew I did some video stuff. I was like, absolutely, I would love to give this a shot. And that was, I think, for FC like 31 or something like that, maybe. I think it was my first event. It was somewhere back there, but it was in Humble, and was a blast. And yeah, I've been rolling with them ever since.
Whenever you attend your first event, and I remember mine, like the energy in the room is
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous. It's crazy, right? When you had
Absolutely.
that first taste cage side, what did you feel? Can you describe it?
Oh, dude, I tell people all the time, there is nothing, and I've been to all the sports events. I've never been to like the Super Bowl, of course, something like that, but there's nothing I've been a part of live that is as electric as a knockout in MMA. It wasn't my very first one. I think it was my second event where I caught a flying knee from Charlie Oliveira on video, and it was just a standing stiff knockout. Dude just fell in the most absolutely electric. I get goosebumps like even thinking about it again, man. Most amazing thing you can ever be part of.
Who are some of the fighters that you, I guess, that you follow or that you're a fan of, or you try and stay non-biased, or it would be pretty hard to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to stay non-biased in some ways, but I mean, definitely always pulling for the Houston guys, especially as I've gotten to know them. But as far as like Fury goes, of course, now they've gotten really big, but it's been a lot of local guys. And let me tell you, there's been almost zero negative experiences with the fighters themselves. All really cool guys, very respectful, wonderful people, hard workers, just looking to get their shot. And some of them are just, it's just a thing they're just trying. Maybe they're not looking for the UFC, but it's something that they're putting work into. And let me tell you too, this, Gardy, because you guys have shot some like background footage and all that kind of stuff, guys training and stuff. Man, the hours these guys put in, the work they put in is so impressive. And getting to see that on display in such a great environment, because Fury does put on an awesome show, is really, really something really cool to be part of.
Have you had the chance to go to any other promotions and either work or just attend? And whenever you do, you really notice the difference between the product that Fury puts out and someone else.
Yeah. I've shot for some other groups and stuff like that. I'm not going to certainly put anybody on blast or anything. But there is a professionalism, and I mean, the other piece is just who's in attendance, right? Like, I mean, Mick Maynard's sitting there watching you fight. When you're one step away from the UFC, it definitely changes things as far as the intensity of the event. But at the same time, there's other good ones out there. They're all the guys are working to do a great job. But Fury is bar none the top of the line.
Let's talk about you getting into photography, videography. Where did that start for you?
So I went to college. I was a communications major, and when I was like 16, I wanted to be. My initial thought was I was going to be on ESPN. I was going to be a sports anchor, and so I went to like communications broadcast school, and along that way, I shifted just a little bit to some of the stuff as I started to get trained in, especially videography and some of those things. What I started to really like, and found out what I was good at. And so I got a marketing minor, and then I thought I wanted to do like ad designs kind of thing, that kind of stuff. And it's just worked out that, God's put me in positions to be able to do things that I enjoy doing, and do some all sorts of things, from shooting like infant photography to people being knocked out in a cage. It's kind of a crazy range, but it's all, I've learned I love to tell stories. And each little situation has its own story, and that's what I really love doing. So,
are there clients that are surprised whenever they find out, hey, he's making these MMA knockout highlight reels and all this really cool stuff?
Yeah.
And then, wait, he took pictures of our newborn, right?
For sure. And that's not necessarily somebody contacts me about a wedding or something. It's like, oh yeah, the day before I'm going to be coming back from an MMA event that, might kind of think twice a little bit. But I will say this, shooting live MMA is probably one of the most difficult things to do well in this video capturing world, so to speak. And so if I can make sure that I don't miss any moments there, I'm definitely not going to miss any moments in your wedding or your birthday or whatever it is you need shot. So
I guess I realize that they're different, but what is, and from your experience, what makes it more difficult is the uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen, and I guess the wedding has a pattern.
Sure. Yeah. Most things you can predict, right? There's almost a script. Like I can tell you essentially exactly what's going to happen when. In an MMA fight, guy can get knocked out, submitted, all sorts of, any number of things can happen at any time. And so being able to stay one step ahead of kind of what's happening in the fight and that kind of thing, that's what's really challenging. It's like a 4-hour event. I've definitely shot like way longer events, but my brain is exhausted when I'm done with the Fury event, because you got to be tuned in to every little thing the entire time, and not just during the fight. It's guys that do cool things in the walkout. Something might happen in the crowd, something might happen, cage side, and you want to be able to catch all those things. So yeah, it's a lot of focus for sure.
Do you take mental notes of different times, or like, oh wow, that's the spot, I know I need to use that, or do you actually write stuff down, or you just have to comb through all the footage?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of all that, right? So like, especially mental notes, I've gotten pretty decent at it. The hardest piece of all of this is most of the stuff I have to turn around within like 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's making sure you note when the big, most impressive things happen. But I mean, you know how it is when you're shooting stuff, you'll catch something like, oh, that was awesome. You'll want to come back to that. But then also, yeah, combing through lots of footage afterward, there's a lot to be done there. But yeah, it's a little bit of a hybrid of all those techniques.
The 24-hour turnaround, that's not necessarily normal in most cases. Why is that and so important for you, and to make sure you get that done?
Well, I mean, it's almost like that whole event is on a clock, and the emotion and the everything that carries over from it as the event to production time frame kind of wanes, so does the excitement around it. Mm-hmm. And so the sooner you can help those people relive those moments, absolutely way more importance out of that. So, something amazing happens at a fight. Who cares 3 weeks from now? There's probably another event that already happened at this point. People have forgotten. But if you can get that content out that night or that next morning when people are still telling the story and still reliving it, you ride that wave, and it really makes a huge difference.
I had the chance to talk to Miles Banks the other day, and I watched his fight, on Facebook, from Fury's Facebook, and it was a monster fight. And then I talked to him like maybe a week and a half later, and I was like, well, there was 3 other Fury events from that time. So now I was like, it was just happened the other day, but yeah, and Fury's doing so many events, and there's Submission Hunter, they're killing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, Miles Banks is a dude to watch for. He is. I was shooting the weigh-in photos for that event, and I mean, and I'm a decent. I'm like 6'3", 230.
Yeah,
I'm not a small guy. Man, he made me feel little. Like I looked up to him. Like, he's a monster.
Yeah,
he's something special to watch for.
Well, the guy that he fought, I think he's about 6'3", 260 as well. And I know because he fought Jake Williams, and Jake Williams is one of my teammates at PMA, and I know Jake's 6'4", 265. Like on weigh-in day, and I saw them two weigh in, and I was like, well, yeah, okay, something's not right. Either the camera's wrong, I don't know what it is, but the dude he's a monster. He's a literal monster.
Yeah, really cool guy too. Super nice guy. Couldn't meet a nice guy.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about one moment. I think it was Jose Johnson, and that was one of the videos that y'all put out highlight wise. That was an amazing moment, and the crowd was electric, and the video that you captured was actually better than the live stream video that ended up getting put out.
Just from this last Fury, right?
Yeah,
man. That event in itself was awesome. There was a bunch of UFC guys in the crowd. But yeah, I mean, 12 seconds in, just lit him up. I mean, that was a monster shot. And that was absolutely one of those moments. So electric, the whole place blew up. And yeah, I happened to be in the right place at the right time to catch a really sweet angle of that shot. That's one that'll live on for a long time for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so there was a highlight. It was like the top 20 highlights of last year, and you put a video together. What was it like trying to comb through those moments and finding and remembering to put something out like that?
Yeah, so we did a 21 of 21 this year. We always try to do like an end of year highlight kind of thing, but man, it was such just an outstanding year for Fury, especially. It was hard, man. It was really hard. I had DMs from people like, man, where's my knockout? Where's my TKO? And it's one of those things like the bar just keeps on getting raised of, just a good knockout or a TKO is kind of just meeting the bar now. If you want to be remembered, you got to do something special. That one from the other night was absolutely one of those. Another one of those for this year, guaranteed, which it's been blowing up all over Sports Center and all sorts of things. It's Jesse Butler in San Antonio a few weeks ago. Man, that knockout was just awesome. I mean, just awesome. And a great fight. But yeah, pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, you get a couple high level guys in there, you just don't know what's going to happen, and that's one of the beautiful parts of it. And you just running around and trying to capture everything. It doesn't make it easy. And then there's that
No.
moment, and then the editing. Like if somebody doesn't know what goes into that, can you kind of
Yeah.
describe, I guess, the process?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, it's like writing or it's like painting or it's like, whatever, all these creative things. Everybody has a little bit of their own different process, so to speak. Um, but yeah, for me, it's a matter of my at least for this MMA stuff, it's a particular process of you bring in all the footage, all 3 hours of it or whatever, however much there is. I know exactly what type of stuff I'm working for the different types of videos we're cutting. And I just cut down to those things. And then I look at about what time we're at. Usually the first cut goes from that like 3-4 hours down to like 5 minutes or so worth of great stuff. That's when it gets really difficult because now you're paring down. I mean, you've already gone 98%, right? It's the top 2% of the night. Now you've got to get down to the top like 0.3% moments. And the way social media and all those things are now, the way where stuff lives, you got to try to encapsulate that night in 60 seconds. And really, at the end of the day, you're trying to create intrigue. The whole idea is that people see that and they want to go back and watch it on either Fight Pass or they definitely want to be at the next one. That's the whole goal, is to definitely put, everybody's great stuff on display, but also leave a little bit left wanting of ooh, I want to see what happened next kind of idea. So.
Besides the combat sports stuff, what are some other things that you offer and do as well, or something that you want to venture into?
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, as far as what I do right now, like I said, my range is pretty big. In fact, after this, I'm going out to shoot a commercial real estate video, shooting some drone stuff, which is a lot of fun too. And I will say it's part of what I love most about this whole life is nothing is exactly the same. There's a lot of new and a lot of interesting, and that's always fun and a challenge. But I've also got some ideas of a couple things, taking some steps forward. One, I can't share everything around yet, but I will come to you, Gardy, when we're really ready to push it. But it's around a jiu-jitsu idea and a series that I'm going to be producing there, and I've got some great participation already guaranteed, and so I'm really excited about where that's going to head. So
that's awesome.
My idea is hopefully I'll be producing that. I'll shoot that over this summer, and then it'll be a series that'll be coming out in this fall.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to hear more.
Whatever you're ready. Said I can't share too much yet. There's too much risk there, but I promise I'll come back to you with that for sure.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Okay, so if you're just now joining us, we have Jaychay Productions. Tell me a little bit about the name, I guess, whenever you were brainstorming and how it just clicked and worked for you.
So this is actually the name came. So my name's Jeremiah Chambers, Jaychay. That's where it comes from. And some buddies of mine back in Chicago, actually, when I was there for a few years, they just started calling me that for whatever reason, just buddies of mine. And I was like, hey, that actually might work. And it's also a little bit of an kind of an homage to my dad. My dad's name is Jay. And so it's just something I wanted to include in all the stuff I create. So.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I think before, hey, you went to school in Florida, you spent some time in Chicago, being from Michigan, now you're in Katy. Is there somewhere that you haven't lived that you want
the West? I haven't lived on the West Coast yet, but not basically, yet. I've covered, the Midwest to the East, and but yeah, I mean, I will say I love Houston though. We definitely feel like this is home, Katy, but yeah, we really love it here.
Yeah. What are some places for somebody that hasn't been to Houston before? And there's a lot of guys who come in from Fury, Submission Hunter, and there's a bunch of events. What are some things in your opinion they'd have to check out, whether that's like food or fun or anything?
Oh gosh, man. Well, I'll tell you, so my world is obviously Katy. Like I don't, when I go downtown, it's usually for shooting something. So I'm only there for a little bit, but I will say I love burgers and I love, getting to the different burger places around here. And there's a few good ones. One is called Craft Burger on Mason. I love that place. Another is called Fusion Burger. Another one's called Joy Love. So if you love burgers, those three places are my top three. You can fight me on that. They're all really good. So
I don't know if we want to say that like on a combat sport. Combat
You
sports.
can debate me on that. I'll put it that way.
I like that better. So I have this reality of wrestling is Booker T's promotion, and I have this belt that I had made. It's a radio championship because they have a television championship, and so
Nice.
I get to interview wrestlers and MMA guys, and then whenever they come in studio, it catches everybody's eye because it's like a legit really cool belt, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting for one of them to challenge me one day, and I'm just gonna be like, you know what? Never mind. You're the new radio champion. So I understand. I understand. That's like, hey, we're not putting out an open call to. Some of these guys will take it, whatever it takes to get the gold, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So again, this is just a reminder, Jaychay Productions, Jeremiah Chambers, he's going to be filming and shooting some video, Submission Hunters, taking place this Sunday. And also Fury has some events. The calendar's loaded. I'm sure the whole thing is already stacked. I'm excited to see where everything goes.
Yeah.
You know, can you talk about what you do outside of video?
Yeah. So the other thing I do, I'm a worship pastor at a church in Katy, and so a lot of my photo video stuff gets used there, obviously as well. But then I get to sing and play some music and stuff like that too, which I also really love and enjoy, especially that creative side of it as well. So yeah, that's kind of my other life, so to speak.
And it's an art. I would say creating video is an art. Obviously, music is an art as well. At what point were you interested in music, and what all were you drawn to first, and what all do you play now?
Yeah, I mean, I started playing piano when I was like 8, so I've been doing music stuff pretty much my whole life. I won a couple national competitions for singing when I was in high school, and something I've always just loved and enjoyed. And I don't know that I necessarily considered that it could be like a career thing. You know, it was one of those, but I've been provided with a lot of great opportunities, and absolutely love what I get to do. And I say that with all sincerity, like that I get to do that. I mean, the fact that I'm able to do the things I love and people pay me for that, I'm extremely grateful for that being part of my life at this point.
You know, we're about the same age, and I think you mentioned like singing competitions, but reality TV, American Idol, The Voice, like all those things came out at the same time. You know, did you ever go and try and do any of those?
I did not. I seriously considered it at one point in my life. But it was one of those things. I met my now wife when 3 days into being at college, and it was one of those choices of like, I don't know. And I know maybe, you know, people make it work for sure, but the idea of tour life and also having a family, like those two things, like, it was more important to me to raise a family and have that security. So, that's what I chose. And I'll say, like I say, God has blessed me with crazy opportunities that I don't know that I would have ever had otherwise. So, I never did put my face on American Idol, but
you never know.
Hey, you never know.
There's still time. There's still time. There's still time.
There is still time. There's more time for me to be a professional singer through something like that than there is a professional fighter, for sure.
Does your wife work in ministry, or does she ever assist in the media side as well?
Oh yeah, I mean she's right next to me with basically everything we do. But yeah, she's a teacher also, and we homeschool our kids, and so yeah, she's a pretty incredible individual for sure.
Okay, you mentioned homeschool. I have some of my family. I have some cousins that grew up in Katy. I know they have a lot of schools, and the schools are good, and there's always, you know, you have to do what's best for your family. But I know there's a lot of wrestling out there, and it's really big. Do you work with any like high school wrestlers, or make highlight reels for them as well?
Sure. One of the guys, he's actually one of my sponsored athletes. I have a few, and his name is Marco Vasquez. Shout out Marco. Go follow that young man. He is going to be an absolute monster in whatever discipline he chooses. He got, I think, 6th this year at regionals as a freshman. Never wrestled before in his life. He's an amazing jiu-jitsu artist. And he's turning a little bit of attention to wrestling this year. So definitely watch out for him coming up. He's an absolute monster. And next year I fully expect him that he'll be at States.
That's awesome. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think he's like a green belt in jiu-jitsu, or green or orange. And then I'm friends with his dad, because his dad he does a company and does some like branding on things as well.
Yep.
So
wonderful family, awesome people.
Very cool. Okay, what are you looking for whenever you're looking to work with athletes and sponsor them?
Yeah, so a few things. One, I'm taking it pretty slow, first of all, because it's just me, so I got to keep up with everything. One is that they're a champion at their discipline, whatever that may look like. That they have a belt to show for it. But also right now, especially, I'm looking for the younger, up and coming people that are going to be something. And my purpose in the whole thing is that, listen, these are people that I think need really great quality coverage for what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And if I can lend that voice a little bit and give them content and logos or video or photo stuff, whatever it is, so that when they get a call and say, hey, do you happen to have, A, B, and C? Yes, I do. Let me send you this great high quality stuff, and it will look and feel and sound higher than any of their peers, and just gives them that one little extra edge that maybe they get the opportunity they've been working to deserve.
That's awesome. I love it. And I love, because there is so much talent around here. Yeah. There's a ton of talent. Yeah, and, sure. Like, even like musicians, like I grew up in this area as well. And there's a lot of good music. And some people were like, I got to move to this other place. I got to move to Austin or New York, yeah. LA or whatever. And it's like, no, now Texas and combat sports and jiu-jitsu is booming. And it,
absolutely. Yeah, it's really becoming the mecca of jiu-jitsu. I really think it'll continue that way.
I guess, what are some goals that you have for Jaychay Productions, throughout the years going forward?
So, man, throughout the years, it's a couple things. One, I wanted to create something that, no matter what life brings my way, kind of thing, that I can continue with. So if I were to go somewhere else or move somewhere else, that this could continue. But I also want to create something for my kids. I have two kids, Mackenzie and Caleb. They are 9 and 5, getting ready to turn 10 and 6. And my daughter especially has shown a lot of promise in the video creating world, and creating something that if they wanted to be part of it, that one day they could take on a piece of that and run with it as well. But a lot of it is, I'll be honest, man, like I've always been the person that's wanted to just work for myself, and a lot of it is just that independence and that freedom of, I create stuff because I want to, and I tell the stories that I'm excited about, and that in itself is fulfilling enough. And whatever those stories bring as that comes forward, and we'll see where it goes. But that's really the biggest thing.
Going into a shoot or a job, you think you have a story. Is there ever opportunities or I guess times where you say like, oh, this isn't the story, it's actually here, and just go with the flow? And is that important in creating something?
Oh, absolutely. I think you have to have that attitude in all those things. Like, you're going to have an idea of what it probably is, or maybe what it could be, but living in the moment and fully taking in those things, being emotionally aware, especially, is to be able to take those things that you've shot and then help other people relive those things that you also experienced. So whether it's like I said, the sweetness of a wedding ceremony, the excitement, or whatever that may be, or the craziness of a sports event, or whatever that is, you want to relay that same thing to other people. And so being able to live in the moment of what's happening then, being aware of it, and that way when you get into the editing room, you're able to maintain those things for sure. Yeah.
Can you share about, and you may not think it is, but is it a risk to create music or create a video and you put it out there to the public, and sometimes the feedback is great and sometimes it's not what we thought it would be? Maybe you don't deal with this now, but even in the beginning, did you ever deal with that?
Oh, absolutely, man. We live in a world of critics for sure. And it's so popular to be able to tear down other people's work. But I will say, the one thing that I've learned I've been doing this for like 15 years or so now. The one thing I've learned over the time, one is, it's not really for me, it's for, them. And so creating the thing, like, if it's a wedding, getting to know that couple and what they want out of it, to me, that's all that matters. Their opinion, were they happy? Did they feel like their story was told? if they're satisfied, then I'm more than satisfied. Now I will say something like the MMA event. Listen, y'all, what happens happens. I'm sorry if you got knocked out. I have to put that on. There's a little bit of that I know will be disappointment.
Yeah.
However, I always try to make sure that I never portray anybody dishonestly or make fun of anyone or any of those kinds of things. Because as much as there is excitement and such highs in the wins and stuff, those guys that got knocked out or hurt or whatever the case may be, I mean, that's an extreme low. And so being able to balance that out a little bit of not wanting to treat people poorly, but also celebrate the high points. There's definitely some trickiness in that. And there's a lot of rejection in this business, and you gotta be okay with that. But I will tell you this, I think something that prepared me well for it is when I was in college, I worked for True Green Chemlon as a salesman over the phone. And I was a telemarketer that sold lawn care to people that I've never seen their lawn before in my life. So, I got pretty used to rejection there. And once you kind of get over that, you realize, it's part of the deal, and you can deal with it. But it's not, you do have to have thick skin, and you have to be really open to critique. And there's also a lot of good that can come from that. And it can make you better if you want it to.
Okay, here's something I thought of before, because I've seen even Mona Bailey. I think Michael Aswell. Those are some people that you have worked with and sponsor.
Yeah, both of those are a couple Jaychay athletes as well. Yeah.
And I seen Mona. She just posted maybe yesterday. It was like, hey, Submission Hunter, if you want to get your highlight video, hit up Jaychay Productions. Does awesome work, right?
Yeah.
So let's say somebody does get a highlight video and they lose or it's bad. Like, what do you do with that? Do you say, hey, I'm gonna put this together and make it look okay, or I'm going to save this for another event? What works?
So if somebody books me beforehand, I always give them the out of like, hey, I know the match didn't go your way. It's totally cool if you're not wanting that. I totally get that. Or like I said, if they want to put it toward another one, the next one down the road, that's fine too. But I'm certainly not going to force anybody. It is that kind of world. Like sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm sorry, my dog's going crazy right now.
It's okay.
But yeah, now I have had other people too that I always respect the ones that still want the video even if they lost, because especially in jiu-jitsu, there's always great things. You might not have won, but I promise you there was things you did really well, and there's excitement around it, and you're going to want that memory because it's a big deal. It's a big stage. The crowds are always really live, and so it works out one way or the other. But I certainly want them to have what they want, not the other way around.
What other sports would you like to venture into? Are there any?
Man, of course. I'm a huge basketball fan. I would love to be able to get into any of those worlds, honestly, but football, basketball, baseball. So I've shot, this last summer, I started working with some of the bigger softball organizations, the tournaments and stuff that happened. That was a lot of fun. Those girls are pretty incredible athletes. So yeah, I'm definitely open to all those opportunities.
What's the name of your dog? What kind of dog do you have?
His name is Choco. He's a chocolate lab, and he acts real tough, but he's a big
Did the doorbell ring or something, or he's just like, hey, I'm in here?
Yes, yeah. Somebody's coming to hang out with the kids for a little bit. So yeah, he has to greet everybody with the full, full charge.
My guess is it was True Green knocking on the door.
He is great for that, though. The salesmen don't stick around very long.
Yeah. All right. Talking to Jaychay Productions is Jeremiah Chambers. He's out in Katy, Texas, but you will travel if needed.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess if somebody wants to follow you on social media, hit you up just to chat or hire you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, at Jaychay Productions, just especially on Instagram. That's where I'm most active, but I have Facebook as well. Or you can shoot me stuff on my website, jaychay.com, Jeremiah@jaychay.com if you want to send me an email. But yeah, I mean, my DMs are pretty much always open. That's how a lot of people get in touch with me. So yeah, even if you're just curious and you want to see what might be available to you, give me a shout.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to share today?
No, man. I think we covered it. It was really great talking to you, though. It's been a little while coming.
Yes, I'm excited. Thank you for making some time.
Oh, absolutely.
This is KTA.